I would like to begin by welcoming the moderator for this session, Ms. Amrita Nair, Head Entertainment, Ad Sales and Strategy, Disney Star. Come on, we need a louder applause for the lady coming up on the stage. There we go. And of course, it's time we get our panel members for the session as well. Please welcome Mr. Ravi Kabra, co-founder Skippy Ice Pops. Join me in welcoming Mr. Chirag Gupta, founder 4700 BC. We have with us Mr. Jatan Pawa, co-founder Perfora. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Gaurav Mehta, CMO Noise. It's a privilege to welcome Mithun Mukherjee, Executive Creative Director, FCB Connect. And last but not the least, Ms. Aditi Mishra, CEO, Lodestar UM. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is our first panel. Amrita ma'am, over to you. Before we begin, I want all of you to properly, in the most Delhi fashion, put your hands together and welcome the whole panel once again.
Good morning, everyone. It's a bit of a wobbly chair, actually. No, you don't have to change it, but I hope I'm safe here. Thank you, Exchange4Media, for this wonderful opportunity to start this inaugural panel discussion, and I'm really, really glad to be moderating this session. I am in the company of a set of very inspiring entrepreneurs and media professionals. And I have a lot of questions for you, and I hope we will have the time to cover all of them. Let me start by giving you a scenario. I want to introduce you to a consumer. 47 years old, female, metro dweller, parent of an 18-year-old, enjoys the niceties of life and belongs to the high disposable income bracket, brand aware, yet environmentally very conscious too. This consumer, in fact, is unaware of some of these brands present here, and maybe many out there trying to build brands. How do I know this? That consumer is me. I haven't heard some of these brands before, and had I not been in this profession, maybe for some time to come, I wouldn't have heard of them either. And this is not a complaint, but at the same time, that's the reality, right? So I would like to understand, like I'm sure some of you must be curious now, why a consumer like me, or many like me, millions like me out there, I'm sure they're not excluded intentionally. Why are the brands not able to reach them while they are trying to build their brands? Yeah, so let's dive in, ladies and gentlemen. Let me start with my first question. Gaurav, I will start with you. Gaurav is a seasoned D2C marketer. Gaurav, D2C brands have been following a marketing journey, starting with performance marketing, and they're there on the digital platforms before they plunge into television. You've had a prolific career building many D2C brands, like, for all of your benefit, He's built brands like OLX, Cardeco, Zupi, and now he's working recently, now joined Noise. I would like you to share your perspective of performance and brand building, their roles, and specific impact. Also, at what point of the brand and product life stage did you consider having TV in the media plan, and how did it help?
Thanks, Amrita. Um, I think the conventional logic would always say that till the time you haven't tested your product market fitment, stick to the short-term ROI mediums like digital marketing, performance marketing. At some point where you think now you have proven the market, proven the business model, now you go to the broadcast mediums like linear TV or the bigger brand building measures. While directionally this is quite true, and I think I would have also done a lot of this trajectory, but some of it sometimes can be a little bit different also. I'll talk about OLX. I joined OLX in Jan 2013, part of the founder team. Started off OLX, and over there we actually went the other way around, where we patronized TV much more than digital marketing. And the problem statement was a little in the sense that if you look at any internet business in the room or elsewhere also, they always had an offline precedent. Offline ancestor. Digital was like a different mode of delivery, which is where the consumer behaviors were already solidly set, and which is where there was a lot of inherent demand, which performance marketing was the right medium to go and just get that inherent demand to your brand. OLX, the whole C2C classified platform, where the offline precedent wasn't there. The closest offline precedent that we had was a kabadi wala. People were not in the habit of selling their used goods to each other, because that is culturally a taboo thing also, कि क्या घर में कोई दिक्कत है, पैसे नहीं है, सामान क्यों बेच रहे हो, so on and so forth. So we understood A, that the market was huge, anybody and everybody could sell a number of goods, and B, because of the cultural taboo and so on and so forth, the current market is very small. So when we knew that the market is so big, we had to nurture that market, which is we went on linear TV very, very strongly. In fact, in 2013, I think OLX and Flipkart were the only two players who were sustaining their investments throughout the 12 months. A lot of other internet players were also coming and investing, but that is more ad hoc. And I think the big part of OLX success was because of the investment on TV. In 2013, and obviously that's about 10, 11 years back. But then over there we short-circuited the whole go-to market, and we preferred TV. In fact, I was just discussing with your colleague that we were the first internet player to actually go on IPL in 2013. And just a trivia, I think associate sponsorship package came for 8 crore. And that sounds very weird right now, but then that's how it was at that time. But when I went to Cardeco, the market was very mature. The new car buyers were already online, and which is where it took me almost 2.5 years before I did my first TV campaign, because there was so much of demand already in a very mature market that we used a lot of SEO, performance marketing, content marketing. In 2019, February was my first TV campaign, almost like 2.25 years after joining. So it depends what the market stage is, what are the product life the business life stage is, and what do you want to do? Because I knew at Cardeco the market was already well evolved. Let me just get the short-term ROIs through performance marketing and all. But my opportunity statement at OLX was different, which is where we use it differently.
Thanks, Gaurav. Ravi, let me come to you with this question. I'm aware of your campaign on our network. Ravi is based out of Hyderabad, so AP Telangana is considered to be an important market for him. So he had advertised with us on our Telugu channels. And when did you decide to consider television? Right, you also must have gone through the same journey. It's a new startup, and every product has to go through that life stage. When did you decide to come to television, and how has it shaped your brand's journey?
Yeah, thanks for that question. So Skippy is a pretty new brand on the block right now, and this is one thing that I always reiterate every time where I go and talk, that today everything works on brand and branding. The product doesn't matter much. People buy a brand and not a product. The earlier we are able to create a brand and a brand awareness is the earlier success signs of the brand. Before any other competition drops in, it's always important for a startup brand like us to actually start creating a proper brand awareness. This I say because India is a population of 1.4 billion. There's room for everyone. But most important is who creates the brand and who creates the massive market for the category is important. And we play in a very new category which has evolved just last 2 years back. Of course, it has been a category for a very long time. But unfortunately, none of the brands actually seem to have gone into that path. Now that we have created a category, it is very important for us to create a brand awareness and tell people that we are here as a market leader, as the leading brand for this particular product. And I believe that for a startup brand, I thought we are not even earlier, we were actually a little late in terms of getting onto a regional television channel. I would have wanted it to be a bit earlier. But at the same time, for a startup like us, the ROI, like how just Gaurav mentioned, matters a lot. Whatever money we are putting in has to come back to us in a multiples. This is what I tell my marketing team that ₹1 लगाता हूँ तो at least ₹3 तो चाहिए वापस, you know. And when we decided to go on a television channel, obviously we were not as big enough to go at a national television level yet, because that's a big investment, that's a big commitment, and in case if consumer do not find our products in stores, then it is probably money down the drain. So we decided to focus very heavily on areas and locations where we are actually present. And Hyderabad, obviously, because we are born out of Hyderabad, was one of the regions where we have very good availability of our product across multiple outlets. Today, pan-India, we're in about 20,000 outlets, GT, Kirana stores and mom and pop stores. So Hyderabad was our evident choice, and we thought, okay, now let's look at a regional player which is affordable and which is targeting the right audience where we have our presence. Because when we invest money here, we would want people to go out into the store, buy the product, and probably then that is how the brand will grow in size. And surprisingly, we did this not just in Hyderabad, we tried it in other states like Rajasthan as well. Gujarat, not Rajasthan. And we saw great impact after we actually placed our ads on these regional channels. It connected with the audience very fast, and we played a TVC which was very catchy. And immediately the kind of impact what we saw was, we started to get incoming leads for people who wanted to become distributors and stockists across Telangana and Andhra, both Telugu-speaking states. We started to see that the call flows increased nearly 3x to 4x times across the day. A lot of people went into stores, realized that probably when the brand was available, they picked up immediately. And where it was not available, we started to see calls coming from retailers as well, asking us that, are you guys able to supply to my store? And my team did a great job of noting down the details and passing it on to the distributors. So I personally believe that it was a great move for us. I think we will be doing it more often. And as long as we are not at the national level place yet, we will continue to focus on regional television, because I think it was a very good exercise. The cost for acquisition also was pretty less, and the kind of returns and the kind of brand awareness that we could create for a very new brand was significant. Absolutely.
Thanks, Ravi. That's like quite an endorsement for every broadcast business that is in the regional language content business, in linear TV or anybody who is providing content in for television, right? So essentially, what he said is, regional language, in fact, is geo-targeting of linear TV business. Like you take AP Telangana, for instance, those channels in the regional language, which is in Telugu language, it is geo-targeted for the AP Telangana market itself. So any startup, who would want to, let's say, start small on linear, there is regional channels that is available right out there, and affluent audiences sitting out in, let's say, South India, which is above the national average. Yeah, thanks, Ravi, for that. Jatin, this question is for you. Jatin is the co-founder of Perfora, an oral care business. Jatin is a founder of a premium oral care brand, which is only 2 years old, and that's what you mentioned in our conversation. When would you consider linear TV to reach out to your target audience? And I understand that you consider a Colgate or Sensodyne as your potential competitor. You may be small today, but I'm sure that with the plans that you have, you would sooner than later would be able to call them your competition, right? And what will you expect out of television? What would you want TV to deliver for your brands?
Sure. Thank you so much for that question. So like you mentioned, we're a 2-year-old brand, so we're fairly early in our journey and our thoughts keep evolving, quarter on quarter, how the business is performing. But today, over the last 2 years, what our understanding is when you go out on a national television or consider linear television advertising, it has to be 2-3 things combined. One, it has to be a lot more 360 degree, where when you're showing your, when you're talking about your brand on national television, it has to be supplemented via distribution, because you can control the geography to some extent, but you can't control who's watching those ads. That's one. So we'll have to first build a fair bit of distribution, and when I say distribution, it has to be more offline than online, because people who are watching television are also the ones who are shopping more offline than online. That's our understanding today. We could be wrong. Second, like Gaurav mentioned, and I truly resonate with his thoughts, that it has to be sustained. It cannot be one-off effort. One-off effort will have a very touch and go kind of an effect, and that won't sort of materialize into anything substantial for a brand like us, which is an everyday product. Toothpaste, toothbrush, millions of people use day in and day out, and we want to carve out a space in their head. Okay, hey, Perfora is also part of their consideration set. Third, what we would want to gain out of television advertising, I think the answer is fairly simple in our head. We would want people to take notice that there is another brand which is better for you, which is functional, which is more safer than what's already out there, which is more, which is also affordable, not that premium, won't ask for your arm and a leg when you buy our products. So I think that is the level of awareness that you'd want, and if you do it over a sustained period of time, which is 1 quarter, 2 quarters, or 4 quarters, or whatever time period that it might be, it would result in certain conversions. And conversions could be through either channel partners, we getting it helping us amplify our distribution, whether getting more super stockists or retailers or distributors onboarded with us, or it could be end consumer level conversion where there are more brand searches happening. One proxy that we try and measure anything that we do at a brand level today, irrespective whether that's television or performance marketing or digital marketing, we see whether our Google trends are going up or not, whether our brand searches are increasing. That's a fair bit of proxy to see whether the message that you're trying to put out is getting registered. That we are very clear that if you're going to put an X amount of money behind any advertising, which is going to be a lot more long term, we're not going to expect 2x or 3x in the next quarter or so. It has to be done with that mindset. And I think lastly, when we would do it, I think it will also be a function of scale and the capital that we have, because there is limited amount of resources that are available, and we of course want to play in the same league as a Colgate or a Sensodyne, but we also want to do it more sustainably. We also want to exhaust other mediums, and there are so many other avenues that are available for a young brand like us before we get to that medium of advertising.
Can't wait for that day. Yeah. So, Chirag, I'm coming to you. 4700 BC, a very interesting brand name. It's a mass premium snacking brand seeking those consumers who won't mind paying extra for your brand. Somebody like me. I'm curious to understand how you defined and went about reaching out to the consumer segment that you had identified. And of course, let me address my angst of being left out from your media plans when I say me as the consumer. Yeah, how come you haven't been able to reach me? And I'm available. I have to say this. whether I can say whether I'm omnipresent, but I am, of course, available on digital. I'm available on television, I'm available on CTV, I'm available pretty much everywhere. You know, I'm the indulging
So I've
consumer.
already passed on your email address to my team, and they will now target you digitally at least from now. But see, I think it's the same function, right? It's because we are in a mass premium space, and our area of distribution is still limited to a certain genre of people. So from a higher income group to a middle income group, I think that's where we target right now. And like he said, right? So building a brand in India is the most cumbersome task, right? And our theory is to come from top to bottom, right? It's very difficult to build a brand in this country from bottom up. You can't sell a Parle-G at 50 rupees now, right? So we started from the top, where we started from the high-end malls. We started from the high-end institutions like airlines, cinemas. And now gradually, as our understanding of FMCG is getting better and better, we are penetrating deeper and deeper, right? So probably if you ask me 6 years, 7 years before, we were not even thinking of advertising, right? Today we have a product which can be reached out to more audience. Now we are spending money, right? So I think it also comes down to your confidence in your product, in how consumers are reacting to your product, right? So earlier we were like, okay, Reliance mein rakh diya hai, but kitna bik raha hai? That confidence takes time for you to build, right? So now we are in a GT store. We know how much sales we are doing, but is it good enough for you to go and play and say loudly, okay, here's a brand, you should go and try to a larger set of consumer. So I think it's a matter of confidence. It's a matter of distribution, like everybody said. So I think we are at that stage where, one thing we realized when we were doing all this, we started like a popcorn brand, and now we are now become more of a snacking brand, right? So one of the things we realized that, once we are in FMCG, it's very difficult to survive with 4 or 5 SKUs, right? Because your sales cost, your marketing cost doesn't, give you enough ROI on your products, right? Unless you have a very massive product, right? We were in a more new age products, differentiated product line. We wanted more SKUs in our hand, so that once we start doing marketing, once we start doing, spending money, I think we have enough products in hand to give us the ROI. I think slowly we are reaching that stage. Until now our theory has been always been wherever we selling, I think that's our source of place of marketing. So whether if you are available on a quick commerce platform like Swiggy, Blinkit, you will see us more prominently on those platforms than doing a brand marketing or other channels. So having said that, I think we definitely believe a massive brand in India is built through a channel like TV, right? And I think once our distribution is reached to that point where we are confident that, okay, let's reach out to every consumer in a city and let's talk to them, let's communicate our brand to them. I think we will definitely go to that channel. I think we are at a stage where we are digitally strong. We were started offline. I think TV is the biggest channel of advertising. I think we will reach out to. But we keep doing a lot of collaborations. I think we are nudging towards getting there. I think we do a lot of movie collaborations. We do a lot of influencers who are big on TV kind of collaborations. But I think our journey will take another some time for our distribution to reach to that kind of consumer, where we can go to TV as a media. And I think as I said, our confidence in our product line, our branding, our consumer feedback is increasing every day, and that will give us the appetite to spend more on this channel. So I think soon it will happen, and hopefully we get there. Yeah.
No, I still didn't make the cut for the first cohort. Anyway, so let's move on. So, there is a reason why I wanted to ask the first few questions to the brands that are representing here, present here. Aditi, my next question is to you. We've heard all of them talk about limited resources, how they started their journey with performance marketing, and lack of penetration being not so wide and deep in the market, and hence the time taken to come on to linear or try to build the brand at scale, right? I know it is time for television to innovate, right? India has over 50 million households that is consuming only high definition channels, And why do I say this? If television, if you were to talk about linear TV, the entire portfolio of linear TV channels, it reaches out to about 900 million people. And I'm talking about a 50 million households, let's say 200 odd million people who can be reached through the high definition channels that cut across the country. And it is not in an urban city or, this is the affluent audience, right? So wouldn't this be an ideal advertising destination for all the D2C brands like the ones present here? What is your view on that?
So Amrita, you're right. I think D2C brands do need to do a trade-off between how much they're investing in brand building versus harvesting the demand that might be already there for their category or their kind of a brand. That said, I think it depends on where the brand is pegging itself. So HD definitely today offers a relatively easier entry point. One of the other entry points that the team spoke about was around geo-targeting. Similar to geo-targeting, but addressing the affluent audience, and maybe for the popcorn snack brand that we were talking about, HD could offer an interesting cut. Also today, I think with the growth of the ADEX in terms of how it's evolving with digital and television, television is also more open for taking certain different kinds of campaigns versus what they were before. And you can actually slice and dice television in different ways. So, data today can allow you to maybe look at people who watch only reality shows. You could create a cohort like that and go after them. So once you understand the audience and probably the occasion when they are going to consume your brand, or what's the time or the targeting that you want to do, there is a way that television can be smartly used. And you move beyond the traditional way of TV planning, which is I must have 100 GRPs per week. So I'm not saying GRPs will go away, but there are many other layers that you can build in to create very sharp and strong plans for the brand, which can be effective. And today, I think one of the people spoke about the fact that you look at how your campaigns are delivering in terms of, people who are hitting out to your business, people who are coming in, or the search trends going up. Is the social chatter going up? So there is a way of measuring beyond just what's happening on television through BARC in terms of, is it having an impact on the brand? And therefore, do you want to continue? So we see a lot of brands actually experimenting like that. And I think that's a possible successful way ahead to get the advantage of the large screen, but not necessarily be, challenged by the kind of investment it may ask.
Yeah. Thanks, Aditi. Gaurav, I would like your view on this. Please comment on how D2C brands can leverage the scale of high-definition viewership across markets.
I mean, shortly, I think what Aditi spoke about, I absolutely agree. I'm like, don't get me wrong. I'm not like talking about that TV needs to have targeting as accurate or as micro as internet needs to have, because there are many positives that come from an untargeted medium like TV. You generate future demand. You also talk to people who are influencing the person who's going and buying that product and so on and so forth, which a very acute targeting will never get to. But then I think I'm like, HD with the kind of like, say 200 million people or 50 million households, those are very serious numbers. And D2C, I'm like, if we just look at the philosophy of how a D2C brand gets the confidence to sustain the investments on linear TV, the first point of contact with TV has to be insanely successful, because it takes a lot of, and I think I'm like, both Ravi, I'm like, Jatan and then Chirag all spoke about like getting to a certain level and then like, pressing that pedal. You have a board, you have a CFO, you have like N number of people who have to buy into that dream of like going in on TV and then succeeding. Because I as a CMO, I'm like, I might know that this has to be done as a subject matter expert, but there are like 3 or 4 people whom I have to convince along with me. So if like, what I mean, like, Skippy did by going only on regional channels in Gujarat and the Telugu channels, if that serves the purpose, then so be it. If the HD channels, I'm like, help you get that first point of contact being a success, then so be it. The playbooks are totally different for each brand. And I think philosophically speaking, D2C makes a lot of hard strides to come to a place where they have the money to go, the necessary distribution in place, the product market fitment, and then you're never going to be working with TV again for a very long period of time and letting that industry just stagnate or atrophy. Which is where I think, be it regional, be it HD, I think these are great assets for a young D2C brand to have that first point of contact being a successful one.
Thanks, Gaurav. Mithun, we just spoke about, TV is not only for just now and today. It is to build your brand for the future. You will see the returns in the coming months, years, and it's for years to come, right? There is another interesting topic that I keep hearing is about brand safety, right? So content on linear TV are 100% brand safe. We go through S&P checks, and it's just not on linear TV, even on our OTT platforms, right? Every broadcaster that has an OTT platform, the same content is going there as well. All of this is completely S&P checked. And since you have worked predominantly on digital campaigns, and that's you've done, all through your career, right? How relevant is brand safety for new and emerging direct-to-consumer brands?
Very interesting question. Thank you for that. I think brand safety continues to remain one of the most predominantly important things for any brand that's coming out of the market, right? And we live in the age of the internet. We've seen brands sort of face the flack of just taking that one wrong step and losing a lot of brand equity overnight. Brands continue to sort of remain safe on television, especially when it comes to these things, right? Brands are exploring more and more when it comes to creator content, right? You talked about how I've spent time on the internet. Creator content is something that's up and coming, and more brands are subscribing to it. Creator content, interestingly enough, is a very catch-22 situations for the brand at this point in time. Because creators, when they create content, whether they're creating it for their own selves or whether they're creating it for a brand, right? They have their own particular style, and sometimes that may not fit into the brand guidelines. So while brands might want to ride the wave of creator content to create quick buzz and awareness for their products, the catch-22 becomes that sometimes these creators might sort of circumvent the brand guardrails, and that might actually become more detrimental for the brand versus sort of leveraging the particular creator. From these particular perspectives, it's always beneficial for a brand to sort of stick to TV, at least for specific points. The third bit is the flip side of this conversation, right? I spoke about how creators is like a 50-50 on the fence thing for brands to leverage at this point in time. On the flip side, if you look at it, a lot of creators are actually turning to TV, and you see a lot of creators now creating content for television where they were originally creating just for the internet.
That's true.
So there's a very interesting sort of dichotomy that's happening between television and internet. And over the years that I've spent on internet marketing and building brands, I've seen the lines between TV and the internet blurring, where characters from television are now sort of leveraging the internet and vice versa. So I think going forward, brands will continue to sort of leverage both these platforms in a unique way. And a good mix and match of these two platforms, the internet and television, is going to be the way forward for brands. So yeah.
Thanks, Mithun. Chirag, for you, nothing is more engaging than the professionally generated content. Mithun just touched upon it on linear TV. Multiple studies demonstrate linear TV as the true merchants of audience attention. Right? Audiences pay 50 to 100% higher attention to ads that is played on linear television or the professionally generated content, not necessarily linear TV, anywhere their professionally generated content is being played, than user-generated content across. For you, the question is, TV offers immense opportunities for storytelling with scripted dramas. How can D2C brands leverage this high attention driven by appointment viewing and characters that can actually influence consumer behavior?
So I keep telling this to my team also, right? In India, Salman Khan still, is the biggest brand ambassador for any brand, right? He still can sell any product, right? His face makes the most, attention from a consumer, right? Still till date, right? So I think on TV, I think that's why when we reach to that stage where we leverage TV, I think we need influencers who connects with the consumers very well, right? I think when we talk about digital influencers, I think they're talking to only a certain set of influencers, and they're popular in that segment of user base. But I think when we, if I were to do a mass campaign on TV and say, like how Salman Khan did with Pratap Snacks at one point, right? Just came on the TV and said, "Here's the chips, go and buy," right? And nothing else. He didn't do anything, right? But the brand, that was the success story for the brand. If you look at it now, so I think something similar is relevant for us also, because we need a very good content to be connecting to the consumer, when we are ready for it, right? So, for example, can we have somebody like an Amir Khan? Maybe because we are a mass premium brand, maybe we go for an Amir Khan and say, why don't we make a snacking culture popular, which is more communicating to a consumer, which is more healthier, which is saying, we deliver what we commit, right? Kind of a story. So I think we need bigger influencers to come on TV and say that thing. I think it will give a better ROI. I think that consumer of TV who is buying that 10-20 rupees product, which is a large audience when you come on TV, do need a face also at times, right? I'm not disagreeing with the fact that content is equally important. I think content is also equally important, but I think face has a bigger value at this stage, especially for mass brand, right? So I think it's a mix. I think right now we are at a stage where we push for a lot of good content, right? Where consumer can connect with us. Somebody like you watches our ad and say, okay, this got stuck in my mind. But I think when we reach to a stage where we are selling more 20-30 rupees product, we probably need a Salman Khan and a kid going to a store and saying, hey, mujhe wo Salman Khan wala popcorn chahiye, right? I think still works in India, right? So I think it's a journey again. I think we are at a stage where content to a consumer is more relevant for us, but maybe we reach a stage where a face becomes more prominent and it takes it to the next level of, touch base. I think even if I've seen kids going to a store and not knowing a brand, but knowing the face and still picking up the product. So I think it will happen, I think, for everyone.
Aditi, I want to come to you in the context of customer acquisition and retention cost having become so expensive for D2C brands. 88% of India watches television with somebody else, and that is co-viewing, right? And that helps lift conversations around the brand, help to build brands. Would you agree that these brands should reach a wider collective audience? I know everybody touched upon lack of resources, all of that. And building the brand right at the start, right from the beginning of their journey.
So I think, what Gaurav touched upon, OLX took that punt, but that was some time back when TV was still significantly larger. I think today it is challenging for most brands, as we heard. But yes, if you are a brand which is in a space where you're talking to a large audience, I mean, niche luxury brands are different. If your fulfillment is completely online, it's different. So there are scenarios. But if you're a large brand who is going to be consumed by a lot of people, then television offers you the single biggest opportunity to build the brand at one shot in a big go. What we have seen through experience is that while you can communicate the same thing on digital, the build-up on digital is different. As you know, most of the people watch it on a small screen, and they sort of flip through half the content. So it's good to remind you. It's good to tell you, if you already know the brand, that this is where you can go and buy it and pick it up. If I'm looking for a solution, I can do that. But when I want to build a brand from scratch, a brand nobody knows about, then television offers you the single largest opportunity. And like you said, Salman Khan or whosoever like that is there, obviously that catches your attention. We are also attention deficient today as people. So if we can do that, television is somewhere where you lean back and watch with total focus. You can do it there. It's much more difficult to do it on digital platforms. And I think that is an opportunity brands should look at tapping into in a smart way.
Thanks. I, in fact, have a lot more questions, but he insists that I have to wrap up. And it's time's up for a very long time. At least you will allow me 2 minutes to wrap this up. Thank you, panelists, and I thank you for this wonderful conversation. And I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I hope all of you sitting out there also enjoyed this conversation. I have spent 2 decades, in this industry, and the joy of working with brands to scale them up is something that is inexplicable, right? And I continue seeking new brands to make sure that me or the industry is part of the journey of these brands. And India is a hotbed for startups, right? Many like yours. And India is also poised to become the 3rd largest economy in under a decade, right? And all of us part a big role in taking the country to that level of as the 3rd largest economy, right? And there is no better time to build a brand in this country, and the time is now. And as startups, and I understand that you all need to be judicious about the resources that is there with you. You all need to take one step at a time. And I'm not complaining, Chirag or Jathan, about me not being aware of the brand. But the point is, that's the baby steps that they've taken. And I hear ambition over here, right? And but then again, India is a country of volumes. And it's a universe of volumes out there, right? I want to wish you all and all the startups out there all the very best in the journey of building these brands. And I want you to know that this industry is rooting for you. Thank you.
All right. Can I request all of you to get a picture together? Thank you so much. And